When that started happening, I was like this reading, and then I was like this reading.
What? What does that mean?
I am so intrigued. So many questions. I laughed so hard. I'm sad. I didn't cry. I was really close. I almost cried. I'm not happy about this.
Hello bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you some spoilery thoughts and reactions on part 3 of Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. If this is the first book diary of mine that you're seeing, I will link the book diary playlist for you. I've done a number of these for the Stormlight Archive series up until this point, but basically I am trying to capture my thoughts and reactions as I read, and I've had so much fun putting these videos together. Definitely don't watch this if you haven't read part 3 of Oathbringer, or some people like to watch these videos as they read, so I will have timestamps in the description box for like the chapter breakdowns so that you can jump to the chapters that you have read and are safe to watch. I will have one of these videos for all 5 parts of Oathbringer, and I am currently reading Rhythm of War, and I will also be doing this for Rhythm of War. But they are quite labor intensive, and so it might be a little while before I get all of the Rhythm of War ones out, but trust me, I am really excited about doing these videos for that book. I do a lot of thinking out loud and theorizing in this video, and not everything I say is correct. To be honest, there are definitely things that I say that are not correct, but these are the thoughts that I had at the time I was reading this section. So please don't correct me and spoil anything in the comment section. I don't want anyone watching this video who hasn't read further in this book or in the series to be spoiled for anything. So keep your comments to the things that we know for sure up until this point of the series. Alright, that's enough of an intro. These videos are really long, and honestly, they just seem to keep getting longer and longer, and I apologize about that. Hopefully you guys are okay with that, but I just have a lot of thoughts while I'm reading these books. Alright, let's get right on into it.
I just finished the first interlude, and it was very interesting. What is this island that they were going to? And why did this cook feel like she needed to kill everybody before they got there? And then this soulcaster lady, at first I thought maybe she was like Yasna and could soulcast without a soulcaster, but then she had a soulcaster, but it was killing her, and I don't know if we knew that before, that soulcasters like basically killed you when you use them. But it sounds like she can kind of see Shadesmar, at least at like this later point in her life. And then when she died at the end, I don't know if she actually died or did she go to Shadesmar. I mean, it sounds like she turned herself totally into smoke. It doesn't really sound like she went to Shadesmar instead of dying, but that was really weird. And then this cook lady who poisoned everybody, she like wasn't human. It says pieces of her broke off. She crumbled into a pile of chittering little cremlings that moved out of her clothing, leaving it in a heap. And that I have seen before in Edgedancer, but it's also not something I totally understand yet. That was a really interesting interlude. And then the next one is from Taravangian's point of view, so like I'm kind of really stoked about that. Okay, Taravangian's interlude was interesting. I'm glad that he no longer wants to kill Dalinar, but now he wants to support Dalinar just so that the last minute he can replace him. I'm not sure how he's going to accomplish that, but he wants to bond or bind Odium? I don't understand. I think it's kind of like if you can't beat him, join him. But with Odium, I don't know why he thinks that's a good idea, but that was really interesting. As always, Taravangian is definitely a really interesting character. Okay, last interlude before starting part 3, and it was from Venli's point of view, Eshonai's sister. They were undergoing another, like, transformation, only it was not what she was expecting, and her mate died, I guess. It was replaced by the soul of one of their gods, and that was what was supposed to happen to her, but didn't because Odium, for some reason, preserved her, and she's bonded a lesser spren or something. Obviously, I didn't really understand everything there, but very interesting and also kind of terrifying. And also, I feel bad for Venli that her mate basically died. But the reason why I turned the camera on was to talk about at the very end. She sees a little spren that looked like a ball of light, similar to the one that she saw near Eshonai's body. And she instinctively knows that if the new, what are they called? The fused that she's with, if they see this ball of light, that they will destroy it. So she like saves it and hides it. Is that the spirit of her Demid, the person that was her mate? I don't know. So was that little ball of light that we saw by Eshonai's body her spirit, her spren? Did she turn into a spren? I don't know. Okay, chapter 59. Dalinar goes to where the Thaylen Queen is, which I was excited about from the beginning because I really like her, Queen Fen. We see how badly her city is hurt, which is sad. Dalinar uses his stone powers and is able to like rebuild one of their statues. When that started happening, I was like this reading. And then I was like this reading. But I absolutely love that part of Dalinar using that power because that's the first time he's done that. And even within the last few chapters, Stormfather told him he wasn't ready to use that power yet. But he just did it, so that was cool. Something that I was thinking was interesting and that I thought was fishy. When Taravangian saw all of the hurt people, he like almost started crying and asked if he could bring his surgeons to help heal them. The reason why I'm saying that it's a little fishy is because I know that Taravangian had a bunch of people that he was like, I think there were people that were already dying, but he was like letting them die because he wanted to hear their death rattle. I don't know if that's what they really called it, but before people died, they were saying things about the future, I guess. But they were saying these things and he was collecting what they were saying. So I don't know if Taravangian was being genuine and wanting to help those people or if he somehow thinks he's going to get more of these predictions. What is the word I'm looking for? Not predictions, prophecies. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, I just finished chapter 61 and I thought that it was going to end a little more crazy than it did, but still super interesting. So Kaladin and Adolin and Shallan and Elhokar and a bunch of other people have arrived at the capital. What is it? The capital of Alethkar. I don't remember what the city name is. Wait, there's a map. Hold on. Kholinar. I should have known that. Okay, they've arrived in Kholinar, but there's something wrong with the city, which we have known that we haven't been able to communicate with them. There's something strange happening, and we did get, wasn't it an interlude or something in the last book that hinted at the beginning of things going wrong. Anyways, they get into the city, and before they even get into the city, Kaladin is trying to figure out what could be going on because the city just like looks dark, and I think he says out loud, like, I wonder what could do that. And Shallan suggests that maybe it's one of the Unmade, which I'm still trying to piece together what that means. But I think one of the Unmades was the thing that Shallan and her people in Bridge 4 were fighting in Urithiru before, like the Mother of Darkness. And then maybe this is a different one, and I think there are 9 of them. I'm not entirely sure. So Adolin and Kaladin have a couple of friendly interactions, and I love their friendship that is blossoming here, even though they both have feelings for Shallan, even though Kaladin doesn't know that yet. And then the fact that Shallan made Kaladin like super hideous and everybody was like, whoa, when they saw him, but he didn't know what he looked like until like towards the end of the chapter. I was cracking up about that. He even said, I look like some kind of hideous spren because one of his eyes is like higher than the other two, and it makes me think of that spren that Shallan saw that like went into the wall to get away from her. I wonder if she took some inspiration from that spren. Also, I'm loving Elhokar in this chapter. He's just, he's really trying hard to be a better king, and all that stuff that he says to Kaladin about, like, you're here in case I fail. If I fail, like, you need to save the city and, like, take charge and stuff. It was a little bit heartbreaking, and also I'm a little nervous because I am worried that's, like, foreshadowing that Elhokar is gonna die or something. I really hope not, because he's growing on me. Like, yes, he was a spoiled brat for a long time, but he really wants to do good for his kingdom and recognizes that he hasn't been a good king and wants to be, but, like, doesn't know how, and it's so heartbreaking and sweet at the same time, and I just want him to be successful. Anyways, that chapter ends with Adolin taking them to his tailor. He says, well, I figured we'd want someplace safe. We'd need to stay with someone I trust with my life or more. So I brought you to my tailor. Why does he trust his tailor so much? I'm very curious about that.
Hey guys, so I've read quite a bit since my last check-in, like 12 chapters or so. We ended with Adolin taking Shallan and Kaladin and everybody that they're with, Elhokar, to meet his tailor and hiding them out there, which I thought was really funny. She, in the next chapter, is telling them about what's been going on. It's very mysterious. There's something going on in the palace, something not quite right about Elhokar's wife, and Shallan starts doing these weird things because she wants to see different kinds of spren and then draw them, I guess. So she like purposely embarrasses herself, purposely hurts herself. That stuff was pretty funny. She also reveals herself to the men that she brought, as in tells them that she's actually Vale. They like didn't believe her at first. It was hilarious. I laughed. And then in the next chapter, Shallan, or Vale, goes to do some like spying basically, and they tried to murder her. I definitely gasped out loud when she got run through with a sword because I was not expecting that to happen. And then in chapter 65, Dalinar goes to Aesir to try and convince them to like join them, and he's actually successful in that with the help of some of the women in his life, which I thought was awesome. But I was laughing so hard in this chapter because in this chapter Lift is there, and they have the funniest interaction. I think Lift is hilarious. Lift actually says that Dalinar smells like the crazy spren who lives in the forest. Dalinar says, you've met the Night Watcher? And Lift says, yeah, you? And he nods. I think it's really weird that she can smell the Night Watcher's magic on him. I didn't know that was a thing. And then at the end of that chapter, he, I guess, remembers a bunch of things from his past and about the rift and how things with his wife ended. And then we get a flashback. In this flashback, Evie starts like crying and telling Dalinar how she doesn't want him to kill, and like she wants to just like be at home with her family. That scene was really hard to read because I just felt so bad for Evie. Oh, I forgot to mention in chapter 65, another thing that I thought was really interesting was how Dalinar was able to learn how to speak Azish. I guess this is part of one of his powers that we didn't know about, but he can like touch another person using Stormlight and make like a connection with them, and then I don't know, somehow he learned Azish by doing that. So that was kind of shocking and very interesting. Chapter 67 was super interesting and also made me laugh. Shallan runs into Wit. He tells this really elaborate story, and once again I'm sitting here thinking like, does this mean more than what it looks like on the surface? I'm very confused. But somehow Wit recognized Shallan even though she was disguised. So I don't know if he can see through her disguises or what exactly. And then in chapter 68, Shallan actually talks to Wit, and there's some really interesting conversation there. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, this stood out to me. So Shallan asks Wit if he's a herald, and Wit says, heavens no, I'm not stupid enough to get mixed up in religion again. The last 7 times I tried it were all disasters. I believe there is at least one god still worshipping me by accident, which I thought was really funny. I've heard that Wit/Hoid is like kind of the main character of like an even larger Cosmere story that we're not going to get for a very long time. And I wonder if the last 7 times I tried it were all disasters, if that's going to be part of his larger story, and if we're going to learn more about that or not. Also, later, Shallan says, you're old, aren't you? Not a herald, but as old as they are. And he says, child, when they were but babes, I had already lived dozens of lifetimes. Old is a word you use for worn shoes. I'm something else entirely. What? He's been alive that long? What does that mean? I am so intrigued. Another thing he said, He said, when he was young, he made a vow. I said I'd always be there when I was needed. And then he says, it turns out I should have been more specific, as there is technically anywhere. To be honest, there has so far been a random location that is of absolutely no use to anyone. What does that mean? I mean, it sounds like he somehow is transported places that he is needed to make things happen, but he doesn't always know what he needs to do when he gets there or even where he is. What is that? And who is the person that he made this vow to that is making this happen? So many questions. Chapter 69 is a Kaladin chapter, and my only note for this chapter is that Adolin and Kaladin are so cute. They have like a bonding moment in this chapter with some banter that I thought was adorable. And in this chapter, they're trying to do more scouting for information. Elhokar's taking some of them to like a party, and then Kaladin, I believe, is supposed to try to infiltrate like the guards or whatever. Which was interesting because when he left Shallan, his illusion apparently went away, but why? It shouldn't have. He had a sphere in his pocket that had Stormlight that was supposed to keep the illusion going, but it didn't work, and I don't know why. Kaladin doesn't know why. So chapter 70, we meet High Marshal Azure, who has been manning the guards or whatever, like who's in charge of the guards. Apparently it's a woman, so that was pretty cool. And at the end of chapter 70, Kaladin tells Elhokar that he thinks he might have found us another Radiant. I don't know if he thinks that the High Marshal is already a Radiant, or maybe it's just the fact that she has the potential to be a Radiant because she seems to like carry herself in an honorable way. I don't know. And then chapter 71 was another Dalinar flashback. And the interesting thing about this one, so Dalinar goes to meet with the person he's supposed to be fighting, Tanalan. But Evie, his wife, has been begging him not to kill these people and not to fight. And so they figure out a way to end the day peacefully with Tanalan coming up with this idea to pretend that he had always been working with Dalinar and it was all like a ruse to find out any high princes that might be like betraying the Kholinar brothers. This Tanalan guy tells Dalinar that Sadeas has been helping him. Dalinar doesn't totally believe it, and that's really interesting to me because, I mean, I believe that Sadeas would do that, but if Sadeas betrayed Dalinar way back then, why would they be friends? I mean, obviously they're not friends now, but at the beginning of Way of Kings, they were still like friends and on the same side. Is it because Dalinar didn't remember this? But even if Dalinar didn't remember this, other people knew. So, like, I don't know if it was really Sadeas that was betraying him at the end of this flashback or not. I'm very intrigued to get to the next flashback and find out what happens there. So 73 was also from Kaladin's point of view, and he's spending time with the wall guards, kind of like infiltrating them, basically. He's trying to figure out where they're getting the food from, I think. He ends up realizing, and I don't know if they said this when we first saw the High Marshal, but Kaladin said something about how the High Marshal's blade doesn't have a gemstone in it, and the only time he has seen a shard blade without a gemstone was the Assassin in White. So that's where things clicked for me. She has an honor blade. Where did she get this? And I'm very confused. I mean, honor blades, only the heralds are supposed to have them, right? I don't know how Seth got his. He's obviously not a herald. But then also the one herald we have met didn't have an actual honor blade. So I don't know what's going on with that, but that is very interesting. And that catches me up. That's as far as I've read so far. Having so much fun. I've got exactly 100 pages to read before I finish part 3. I will check in with you guys when I've read some more. Bye.
Okay, just finished chapter 74. I don't have a whole lot to say, but I did have one important thing to say. So this was a Shallan chapter, and Shallan finally gets like an invitation basically from the cult, the Spren cult that has taken over the capital basically. But the part of this chapter that I got really excited about and that I needed to talk to someone about, and that someone is my camera, apparently, is that Elokar sees Pattern and tells Shallan that Pattern looks familiar. And when he said that, I don't remember where or which book exactly it was in, but there was definitely a scene. I want to say it was in The Way of Kings, but there was definitely a scene where Elokar saw something that looked like Pattern. I don't remember exactly how it was described, but I remember at the time of reading that chapter that I thought that Elokar was seeing the same things that Shallan was seeing, like the symbol head things, but at that time I didn't know what that was. Now I know that that was actually Spren, but like in Shadesmar, I guess, because that's where Pattern looks like a figure with a pattern for the head part instead of being just the pattern. Anyways, in this moment, when I read the last chapter and Elokar said that Pattern looked familiar to him, I remembered thinking that from The Way of Kings, and now I'm pretty sure that Elokar is gonna be a Radiant. That's my prediction. I mean, he's got to be seeing cryptics, right? Like the simple-headed things are exactly the same kind of spren that Pattern is. At least that's my guess. And so does that mean that Elokar not only is a Radiant, but is like the exact kind of Radiant that Shallan is? I had to turn on the camera and put that prediction out there before I got any further and found out any more information.
Hey guys, so I have read through the end of chapter 77, so like 3 more chapters. 2 of them were flashbacks. Yeah, just 2 of them. So in these flashbacks, we finally learn how Evie, Dalinar's wife, died, and I was so sad. It was so sad. He accidentally killed his own wife. No wonder he wanted to erase his memories. He has got to feel so much guilt about... That's my puppy. He has got to feel so much guilt about what happened. And to see him, like, kill all those people and burn everybody, and then at the last minute say, like, okay, let whoever else tries to escape, just let them escape. And then Sadie says, like, but you told me to kill everybody, so, like, we're already doing that, it's too late. And then after that is when he finds out, I'm pretty sure, that he killed his wife. I was really sad when I read that. And then the next chapter, it's from Kaladin's point of view, I think, but Shallan and Adolin are there, and the banter between the 3 of them was so good. I love seeing the brotherly, friendly bond between Adolin and Kaladin. There was a line in here that had me cracking up. They were talking about swords. So Adolin asked Kaladin to show him the sword that he got from the wall guards. And Adolin says it's a good blade, well maintained. Shallan says it's a little small. And then Adolin explains it's a one-handed sword, blah, blah, blah. They talk about swords for a little bit. And then Shallan says, you boys done comparing your swords? I laughed so hard. I don't know if Sanderson meant for that to be like a dirty, funny joke, but I definitely took it that way, and I'm sure most people would, and it is hilarious. There is also a little bit of him kind of like feeling uncomfortable or weird about Shallan and Adolin's relationship because he has, you know, feelings for her, but he doesn't really realize it yet. And it also mentions that like Shallan's been giving him looks sometimes, and it's almost like she's a different person, which I find really interesting because we know that Shallan also has feelings for him. There was also a scene, I think in this chapter, maybe we switched to Shallan's point of view for part of it, yeah we do, where Adolin asks to see her sketchbook, and he stops right before he gets to the picture that she drew of Kaladin, and she's like in her mind saying like she's glad that he stopped there and didn't look at that picture, and I was just giggling like a little schoolgirl reading that. Also, Shallan has figured out that she's pretty sure there's 2 different unmaids in the city. And then at the very end of this chapter, one of Shallan's men that she hired accidentally light weaves, and I thought that was so cool. So now Shallan has a what do they call it? A junior radiant? A squire. So now Shallan has her own squire, which is pretty cool. I am going to try and read a good bit tonight. I am hoping to finish part 3, and then I can move on to part 4, and I can't wait. So I will see you guys in a few more chapters. Okay, just finished chapter 79, and I'm super excited about what's about to happen. But what's happened so far is Shallan got to go up on the platform thing that is the Oathgate, right? And see what was going on there. And she saw the Unmade that is up there. And I think the Unmade, like, sensed her presence. I think it was talking to her. Either it was talking to her or possibly it was Pattern talking to her, because she was like, oh, that voice sounds familiar. I don't know if that was because it was Pattern or if it was somebody else. If it was the Unmade, I don't know. But it knew her name. It called her Shallan, so that's kind of creepy. And it had some sort of like weird power over her and the people that were close to it. And then the Voidbringers start attacking, so she jumps off the platform. Hi, Toby. Oh. One thing I'm a little confused about is I know that Kaladin can't use Stormlight, or like chooses not to because it attracts the screamers or whatever those things are. But how come Shallan can use light weaving and it doesn't do that? I don't know if that's been explained or not. Like, I know that it's happened multiple times, so I know that it's a thing, but I don't totally remember why. I mean, I don't think we know why. And if we do, I don't remember. And then the chapter that I just finished, though, was from Kaladin's point of view about the attack, and he killed one of the Voidbringers, and of course all the men are really surprised that he was able to do that. He's been talking with the High Marshal, trying to get her to tell him who she really is and how she's feeding the army, and she's like really suspicious of him and is like, you should tell me who you are. But then after the fight, which was another beautiful fight scene of Sanderson's, I love his fight scenes, but afterwards he finally reveals himself and says that he's here on orders of the king and the Blackthorn to save Kholinar, and like shows them his shard blade. So I'm really excited about whatever's gonna happen next. Hey guys, I just finished chapter 84 and I'm sad. I didn't cry. I was really close. I almost cried, but I didn't cry. But Elhokar, he's dead, and Moash freaking killed him. I really wanted a redemption arc for Moash. I did not want him to kill Elhokar. I mean, I didn't want Elhokar to die, and he was trying to say the words. He just had like one more word to say. He just needed to say destination, I think. And then he could have been a radiant. He was starting to glow. And then his son got taken back to his mother, and his mother's a freaking, like, I don't know, human Voidbringer or some crazy crap. My heart hurts. I will say, I did guess a little bit that that was going to happen. Things were starting to get intense, and I was thinking about, like, if someone in this group of people who are fighting in the palace, if one of them was to die, who might it be? And I thought it could be Elhokar, especially thinking back to, I don't know, just like his character arc, him wanting to become a better person, a better king. And before they left the Shattered Plains to come to the capital, Kholinar, is that the name of the capital? Elhokar said something to Kaladin, or maybe it was to Dalinar, something along the lines of the reason why Kaladin has to come with him to the city is, like, if he fails, then Kaladin has to be there to save the day. I was starting to think that might have been some foreshadowing, and now I think I'm right, because Elhokar just died, and I'm really sad. I'm not happy about this. I only have a couple more chapters, couple short chapters before the end of part 3. I'm sad.
Okay, I just finished part 3. What is this chapter? Chapter 87. Definitely a bit of a cliffhanger ending. I can't wait to read through the interludes, but it will have to wait till morning. It's after midnight tonight. Apparently, after using the Oath Gate, the people in the control room, which were Adolin, Shallan, Kaladin, and Azure, they were all transported to Shadesmar. So that's crazy. I mean, the Unmade or whatever it was did sort of try to warn Shallan, but Adolin said do it anyways. I mean, they didn't really have a choice. They were gonna die, so they had to do it. But one thing that's really cool is that we are seeing and getting descriptions of all of the Spren in their Shadesmar versions, so they're like life size and real, which is really cool. I think maybe Azure, she must be a Radiant. Like, it sounds like she has a Spren because there's one that's mentioned that I don't really know what it is. Another Spren stood beside her with ashen brown features that seemed to be made of tight cords, the thickness of hair. She wore ragged clothing and her eyes had been scratched out. That sounds creepy. So it sounds like maybe that is Azure's Spren, so she's a Radiant. But then what about her blade? Because it looks like it's an honor blade because it doesn't have the gemstone thing. And there was also a thing like when they were fighting, the way that the blade that she has was killing people, like it wasn't burning out their eyes, it was just making them turn like a pasty white color, if I'm even remembering correctly. I could be totally wrong about that, but I feel like I read that. A lot of questions about Azure. But she says at the end of this chapter, damnation, I hate this place. So she's been to Shadesmar before, which is very good because I was actually thinking when they first showed up in Shadesmar that like it's a shame that Yasna never got to the point of teaching Shallan about Shadesmar because Shallan doesn't know very much about it. She barely knows anything about it. So I think it's really good that Azure has been there before and knows about it because, you know, it's a weird place that I don't even know about yet. But I thought it was really funny when they first get there, Pattern says, "Oh, this is bad. So very, very bad." And I was just laughing. I mean, at first I didn't realize it was Pattern, but then they described what that person looked like because Adolin like looks over at him and then it describes what he looks like, and I was like, oh, that's Pattern. So I thought that was really funny. Well, that was quite an eventful reading session, but it is time for me to go to bed. I'm still really bummed about Elhokar. I'm really surprised I didn't cry. I did get really close, and I think the only reason why I didn't cry is because like towards the beginning of that chapter I was kind of already thinking that might happen. I was thinking that someone might die, and out of the people available to die, I felt like it could have been Elhokar. I thought, though, that Elhokar was going to, like, sacrifice himself to save his wife and son. I probably would have cried if that's what had happened, because any sort of, like, sacrifice in books tends to really get me good in the heart. I don't know if I'm glad or not glad that that didn't happen, but poor Elhokar, he was saying the freaking words. He was so close. And then Moash had to come out of nowhere. That was such a dramatic or emotional scene because Kaladin was just like yelling at everybody to stop killing each other because he knew people on both sides of the fighting and he just like didn't want anybody to die and they just kept dying. Ugh. Okay, I have to go to bed. But I guess this is the end of my part 3 video, so I will see you guys in the next one.
Alright guys, those are my thoughts on part 3 of Oathbringer. Obviously, I had a lot of emotions while reading this section. There were some really good action scenes and reveals happening. It was really cool to find out what actually happened to Evie, Dalinar's wife, in the past. I don't know if cool is the right word, but it's just been like this really big, ominous secret that we've been waiting to be revealed for a while. And I also felt really bad for Dalinar. But of course, the most memorable and heartbreaking moment, as you could see from this video, I was not happy about it, was Elhokar's death. I think that is an emotional and heartbreaking moment for a lot of readers. Alright, that is all I have for this video. Let me know down in the comment section what some of your favorite scenes from this section were. And keep an eye out for my upcoming Oathbringer book diaries because part 4 and part 5 are definitely really good. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. That is all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye.